Why do Western countries impose sanctions on nations that challenge their dominance? Sanctions are typically used for countries with security concerns, but the West has weaponized them to hinder the growth of other nations. China consistently steps in to counter these sanctions with its support. When the UN and EU imposed sanctions on North Korea, China took action. With China's assistance, North Korea achieved self-sufficiency. However, China is also accused of using questionable methods to help. Is this true, or is the West making these claims out of frustration? Let's find out. Welcome back to another exciting episode of our channel. Innovation Diary brings you China's innovation stories, projects, and growing influence in different parts of the world. If you are new to the channel and enjoy learning about fast-paced modernity, especially China's development and growing power, you will find our videos intriguing. In this video, we will discuss the reasons behind the Western nations imposing sanctions on powerful countries. We'll also delve into why China consistently supports North Korea. Watch the video till the very end to understand why sanctions are often ineffective. Let's get started. North Korea, a country in East Asia, has been facing international sanctions since 2006 because of its nuclear weapons and missile programs. These sanctions are like penalties, and they're put in place to try to limit North Korea's access to materials and technology that could be used for its nuclear weapons program. But is the US scared of North Korea? The United Nations has placed sanctions on North Korea. The United Nations Security Council has passed several resolutions to restrict North Korea's ability to develop its nuclear weapons and missile programs. These sanctions include limitations on trade with North Korea, restrictions on travel, and the freezing of assets belonging to North Korean leaders and organizations involved in these programs. The United States, a powerful country, has also imposed sanctions on North Korea. These sanctions target North Korean individuals, businesses, and government entities. The U.S. government prohibits trade and financial transactions with North Korea and puts limits on goods that can be sent to the country. The European Union has its own set of sanctions against North Korea. These sanctions include restrictions on trade, investment, and financial transactions with North Korea. The European Union also bans the sale of luxury goods and certain materials that could be used for North Korea's nuclear weapons program. But China has neutralized all the sanctions with its help. China and Russia, which are neighboring countries to North Korea, have supported some of the sanctions imposed by the United Nations. But before we talk about how China helped North Korea, let's first address why the sanctions were placed in the first place. The main reason for these sanctions is to prevent North Korea from further developing its nuclear weapons and missile programs. Nuclear weapons are very dangerous, and if they fall into the wrong hands, they could be used to cause harm and destruction. By imposing sanctions, the international community hopes to pressure North Korea to give up its nuclear ambitions and work toward peace and stability in the region. But North Korea does not aim to attack anyone. It is only building its defense. So why does the West have an issue with this? Why are they so scared? The United States is very concerned about North Korea's nuclear program for several reasons. North Korea's nuclear weapons program is thought to be a serious threat to the United States and its friends, like South Korea and Japan. This means that it could potentially harm or destroy these countries. But is there any evidence of North Korea potentially harming these nations? Not yet. North Korea keeps making nuclear weapons and missiles, which is against the rules set by the United Nations. And why is the UN concerned about North Korea's nuclear program? The United Nations has been telling North Korea to stop its nuclear program. But it's important to understand why they are doing this. The UN is mostly controlled by Western nations, and they seem to have more freedom to do what they want compared to other countries. For example, in the recent Israel-Hamas conflict, the United States provided military support to Israel, and the UN didn't take a strong stance against it. The UN only does what is in the US's favor. So why is the UN focused on stopping North Korea's nuclear activities? The main reason is that the United States has soldiers and military bases in South Korea and Japan. This puts them at risk if North Korea decides to use its nuclear weapons. To protect these U.S. allies, and because of the pressure from the United States, the UN is taking steps to stop North Korea's nuclear program. This is all about doing what the U.S. wants. Now let's talk about the sanctions that have been placed on North Korea so far. The United Nations and the European Union have put some strict rules on North Korea through a set of sanctions. The UN has told countries not to sell natural gas to North Korea. This is important because natural gas is used for many things, including heating and cooking. By limiting this, the UN wants to make it harder for North Korea to do certain activities. The UN also says that North Koreans can't work in other countries. This means they can't go to other places to earn money. By doing this, the UN wants to put pressure on North Korea to change its actions. The UN has banned countries from sending luxury goods to North Korea. These are things that are not necessary for basic living, like expensive cars or fancy clothes. By stopping this, the UN hopes to limit the country's access to extravagant items. The European Union has stopped the sale of weapons and related materials to North Korea. This prevents North Korea from getting more weapons that could be used for harm. The EU doesn't allow the export of aviation and rocket fuel to North Korea. These types of fuel can be used for dangerous purposes, so the European Union needs to keep them out of North Korea's hands. The EU has also banned the trade of gold, precious metals, and diamonds with the North Korean government. These items are valuable and can be used for financial gain, so the EU wants to restrict this trade. These sanctions are a way for the international community to put pressure on North Korea to change its behavior. By limiting the country's access to certain goods and services, they hope to encourage North Korea to make more peaceful choices. But is it justified to force a country to change its behavior? If North Korea wants to attack someone, it will be amid all these restrictions. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel for more videos about China's development, power, and influence on the world. Let's continue now. The situation with North Korea is not as simple as it may seem. The West is not interested in creating a peaceful environment. Instead, the West is afraid of North Korea. One key argument is that the West is concerned about North Korea's rising power. North Korea has been building up its strength, and if it joins forces with China, it could challenge the dominance of Western nations. This is what worries the West. Western countries have had a strong influence on the world for a long time. They are economically powerful and have a lot of control over global affairs. The West wants to keep this control and prevent others like North Korea and China from becoming equally influential. To prevent North Korea from becoming too powerful, the West is taking certain actions. The West is not entirely focused on peace, but is more concerned about maintaining its dominance in the world. Have you ever wondered why it seems like powerful nations often find themselves facing sanctions from the West? It's a pattern that has caught the attention of many observers. It's not uncommon for countries that are growing in power and influence to face sanctions from Western nations. China and Russia have both experienced tensions with the West, especially when they have sought to expand their influence on the global stage. For instance, China's economic growth and assertiveness in international affairs have raised concerns in the West. As countries like China and Russia grow stronger, they can pose competition to Western powers, which can lead to friction. The reason why the West does it is because it does not want to lose its dominance over nations. And when other nations become powerful, they put sanctions to stop them. But this time, instead of making North Korea weak, the West is making it stronger. It's because as the West puts more sanctions, China gets closer to North Korea. China has always helped North Korea fight with sanctions. China, as a member of the international community, has supported sanctions aimed at restraining North Korea's nuclear program. Chinese ships have been reported to transport goods from North Korea to Chinese ports, even if those goods are under international sanctions. Chinese companies are said to assist North Korea in obtaining technology and goods that are prohibited by sanctions. North Korea heavily relies on China's financial system and Chinese companies to access restricted technology and goods. And why is China helping North Korea? The reason is the US wants to end all powerful nations, and China wants to empower them. China wants to create a force. Despite some tightening of sanctions, China remains an important economic partner for North Korea. This has made it challenging to exert significant pressure on North Korea, which could potentially threaten its regime. But China's help has made the West worried. So it started accusing China of using illegal ways to evade sanctions. One accusation is the laundering of money. It is said that Chinese middlemen might be involved in helping North Korean hackers transfer funds obtained through cyber attacks. These ill-gotten funds could then be used by North Korea for its activities. These are all allegations with no evidence. China is only just trying to fill a gap left by Western countries. So how is China's help impacting North Korea? The relationship between China and North Korea is a topic that has drawn considerable attention from policymakers, scholars, and the global community. This relationship, which dates back decades, has had significant implications for North Korea's survival, diplomatic position, and economic well-being. One of the most critical aspects of the China-North Korea relationship is its economic dimension. China has emerged as North Korea's most vital trading partner. serving as a lifeline for the isolated nation. This economic partnership is a matter of survival for North Korea, as it depends on China for essential imports, including food, fuel, and other resources. North Korea's limited domestic production capacity and the impact of international sanctions make these imports crucial for the well-being of its population. Without Chinese support, North Korea would face severe food shortages and energy crises, which could further destabilize the regime. North Korea's economic dependency on China is not limited to necessities. Chinese businesses and investors have been involved in various sectors within North Korea, including mining and manufacturing. These activities contribute to the country's revenue generation, even in the face of international sanctions. By relying on China as an economic partner, North Korea has managed to weather the economic storm caused by sanctions and international isolation. China's unwavering support for North Korea in the face of international sanctions is another crucial dimension of their relationship. The United Nations, as well as individual countries, have imposed numerous sanctions on North Korea over the years in response to its nuclear and missile programs. In many instances, China has opposed or watered down these sanctions, showing solidarity with its neighbor. But why is China so concerned about North Korea? First and foremost, China is concerned about the consequences of a regime collapse in North Korea. A destabilized North Korea could lead to a massive influx of refugees across the 870-mile border it shares with China, creating a humanitarian crisis and security challenges. To prevent such a scenario, China aims to maintain stability within North Korea. Second, China values North Korea as a strategic buffer between itself and South Korea, a close ally of the United States. The continued existence of North Korea acts as a counterbalance to U.S. military presence in the region, which China perceives as a threat to its security. Supporting North Korea helps China preserve its regional interests and ensure that the Korean peninsula remains divided. North Korea's economy is severely constrained by international sanctions that limit its access to financial markets, technology, and goods. However, China has been instrumental in helping North Korea circumvent these restrictions. North Korean entities have made use of the Chinese financial system and Chinese companies to obtain technology, materials, and goods that are otherwise prohibited under sanctions. This economic support has enabled North Korea to continue its operations, including revenue generation from its mining and metallurgical industries. By accessing these resources through China, North Korea can keep its economy afloat despite international efforts to isolate it. This has allowed the Kim regime to consolidate its power and maintain a level of self-sufficiency. China's relationship with North Korea is not limited to the economic sphere. It has been a significant ally of North Korea since the Korean War in the early 1950s. China provided military support during the war, and the two countries share a strong sense of camaraderie due to their shared history and ideological alignment. This military alliance has continued to this day, and China remains a vital source of military support and technology for North Korea. Diplomatically, China has played a significant role in shielding North Korea from international isolation. It has engaged in diplomacy, acting as a mediator between North Korea and the rest of the world. This diplomatic backing has helped North Korea maintain its position in the international arena, despite its controversial actions and nuclear ambitions. China has also taken steps to promote diplomacy in the region. It has consistently advocated for the resumption of the six-party talks, a multilateral framework involving North Korea, South Korea, China, Japan, Russia, and the United States. These talks are aimed at achieving the denuclearization of North Korea and finding a peaceful resolution to the nuclear issue. China's support for this diplomatic effort is in line with its desire for a peaceful and stable Korean peninsula. The resumption of the six-party talks could provide North Korea with a platform to negotiate and potentially gain concessions in exchange for denuclearization. This would be a significant development in the region and could have far-reaching implications for North Korea's future. China has faced accusations of assisting North Korea in ways that go against international rules. However, a closer look reveals that China's actions are primarily aimed at helping North Korea grow without relying on Western assistance. So far, China has been successful in this task, and the relationship between North Korea and China has evolved into a strong force challenging the influence of the United States and Western nations. China's support is not just about providing immediate aid. It also helps North Korea develop self-reliance. By assisting North Korea in sectors like mining and manufacturing, China contributes to North Korea's ability to generate its income and resources. This self-reliance is essential for North Korea to sustain its economy and maintain stability. Right now, Western countries should not keep punishing other nations just because those nations are becoming stronger. Instead, they should work better to become more competent to prevent other nations from becoming more powerful than the Western countries. If they don't do that, it won't make a difference how hard the US tries, because China will also be there to help the sanctioned nations. We would like to take a moment here and appreciate you all for commenting and sharing your opinions. Your insights always impress us. Do you believe it's possible to slow down a country's development with China's assistance? What are your thoughts on China aiding nations facing sanctions, and why do you think China does this? Let us know in the comments section. Do you think China's actions are correct? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to get exclusive videos about how phenomenally China is developing and growing its influence over the world. Until the next video, stay tuned. Stay.